It's there somewhere. Where's everybody?
Probably stopping by there.
Hopefully they'll be over here.
Is this the
All right.
official room now?
So this week is actually a fun week for lab. We're going to learn how to crack passwords. All right. So done this a little bit. Maybe we've completed lab 4, obviously, cracking the pre-shared key of the wireless lab. But in this environment, you have a choice. You can do this on Metasploitable, right? Because there are users and passwords there. Or you can go back and you can do it on the Microsoft server. I think I actually asked you to do that in lab 2 or 3, I forget which one. Okay, but this is just kind of reinforcing this task. The reason for that is a little bit twofold. Once you're able to compromise the system, you may only be able to get standard user access. Right? A lot of times that might come about where you're able to crack or brute force a user because they have a very weak password or a predictable password, or you're able to social engineer them, get their password by some means. Right? The next logical step is after you have that account compromised, or if you compromised the box and you've only gotten local administrator access, the next step is to try to get an escalation of privilege, and one of the easier ways to do that is to dump all the password hashes either out of the SAM file on a Windows box or out of the shadow file on a Linux box. That makes sense to everybody? So I kind of want to impress upon why we're doing this insofar as you understand the tactic and the strategy behind just doing it. Make sense? Okay, because that's very important if you're going to go out and you're in an interview for pen testing jobs or offensive security jobs. One of the things that I'm learning more and more and more from employers is they not only want you to have the skills, they want you to understand why you're doing certain steps, more from a practicality, or what I like to call a tactics perspective. Okay, that's kind of very important to kind of grasp and understand. All right, so up here, I'm going to do this on both systems tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the CIS target. So I need to put my Kali Linux box back on VMnet 1. So I'm just going to edit the settings. Put it back on VMnet 1. All right, and boot up both systems. All right, and as those are coming up, I'm going to pull up the homework for the week and just kind of go over it. All right, so here I'm looking for a couple of really simple things. All right, using Armitage or Metasploit proper, either way is fine. Dump the passwords from one of those 2 servers. Okay, the hashes, I should say, the password hashes. All right, and then conduct a brute force attack against one or more of those services that you find on the box. So once you dump the hashes, you can try to crack the hash, which is fine, or you can try to brute force with one of the usernames that you find either through remote desktop, SSH, Telnet, a whole slew of services that you find. So you may have to go back and do what? If you want to find out what services are running on the box, what would you have to reference there, guys? So we've already done on both these boxes, hopefully. What would you have to go back and reference to find out what services are running on these servers? A couple different things you can look at that you've already done. If you've done the homeworks, and maybe lab 1 is due tonight as a pacing guide. Not gonna hold that hard and fast. All right, let's do it at the end of the week, I should say. How do you find out what services are running on a server? What do you do? What are services tied to? What are services tied to? Come on, guys. All right, name a service that runs on a server. What?
Email.
Email, great. How do you know if you were doing something to that device? How do you find out an email service is running?
Check the port.
How do you check the port?
Run a scan.
You run a scan. So what would you reference? What scans have you done on these servers? OpenBoss and Nmap, absolutely. That's going to tell you what services are running. Okay? Don't overthink this stuff, guys. It's not hard. I'm not trying to trip you up. Okay? There you go. So, excellent. We thought through it. Okay? So, I'm looking for a brute force of some sort and an attempt that you dump the hashes, crack the hashes, etc. I'm kind of very fast and loose with this homework. All right, so, and I don't care. You have to do one server or the other. You don't have to do both. One or the other, whatever you want to work on. If you've already done Windows, like, that was easy. I want to try the Linux box. Have at it. If you did the Linux box, you're like, oh man, that was challenging. I wonder how hard or easy it is on the Windows box. Have at it. I'm looking for one or the other. Not both. If you want to do both and put them there, okay, you're not going to get any extra bonus points though. All right, so let's log into Kali. And my CIS target is running, as you can see. And I already know that this guy's address is the last octet's .21, so let me just pull up. Terminal here. Config. So that's not right. Did I not change that something again? Okay, that is right. I'm getting the IP mixed up. My fault. All right, good. So .21 is the Windows box. Okay. So start my PostgreSQL service, and I will launch Armitage. As that's coming up, I'm also going to, just for giggles, do an Nmap scan on this guy real quick. So I showed you last week how to do it. Command line, we'll go back to Zenmap this week. And I also need to so 131 is my IP. Right there. Make sure you get the IP if it asks for it. Okay. So I can actually do all of this from Armitage. There's 121. So I can do an in-map scan. So I'll do that just from here. There's all my ports I'm looking at. Okay, great. So, in order to break into the hashes or dump the hashes, we need to have access in some form or fashion to the server, okay? To the server. Or we need to have some idea as to what users are there that we could potentially try to compromise. So I'm going to go back to the tried and true methodology. Of attacking this guy with the SMB exploit. MS09 50. Yeah. Crushing my processor right now. There it goes. All right. So I already knew that that was viable because I had done it before. So now I have access to the box. All right. So once I have access to the box, and there's several different ways you can get that. There are other vulnerabilities that you may have found out when going through the lab. This is just one of the quickest means, quickest ways to show this. All right. So I have my interpreter session. I can come over here to I always get ahead of myself. I want to tax on it. Well, it's not gonna get to me. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I guess I didn't have to do that. So I want to go to the interpreter session. Okay. I want to go to access. I want to go to dump hashes. And since this is a Windows box, I'm going to dump them via the registry method. This registry method will not work on a Linux box because there is no registry on Linux. If this were a Linux box, we'd try the LSAS and or WDigest. Usually the WDigest is the easier one. It depends on which type of distribution you're working with. Okay? I'm going to keep everything. I can look at the advanced options, but really don't need to do that. I can make it verbose if I wanted to. If I change that to 1, I'll get all the feedback in the terminal here at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and we'll click launch. And as it goes through there, it's going to go and parse through the SAM file, all right, and grab those hashes that it finds. There it finds a bunch of different users. Those should look pretty familiar if you've done this already. All right. Or if you've actually looked at the login screen, you know, from the console. All right. So it's gotten a lot of those. So that is your dump hashes. Screenshot. Great, wonderful, magnificent, truly lovely. 20 points. Okay? Now, a couple things you can do with this. All right? I want you to try to brute force something on the box. So now we need to go back to our in-map scan and go, okay, what's available? Let's go look up at the ports that are there. All right, so we got SMB 445. We have port 80, port 25 for mail. 3306 for what's 3306? Talked about that last week. What? Database. What type of database? There's only 3 types of databases I've talked about: Oracle, MySQL, and MS SQL. We have port 21. What's port 21? FTP. So there's a lot of these ports up there that have the potential that would ask for a username and password. So guess what we've already done? We have the usernames, or we have a set of usernames here, right? And just like in using that word list, well, we can do an attempt and try to break in with a brute force attack. There are a lot of different tools that you can use for a brute force attack. There's Hydra, there's Cain and Abel, there's quite a number within Kali itself. Okay, so if you look at password attacks, right, it depends on what you're trying to use. Now, some of them are meant for offline attacks. So you already have the hash, right? Say you have this. You copy this to a file and use Cain and Abel, or use some other type of like off crack and try to crack that hash manually. That is, if you attempt that, that's 20 points. All right? If you use an automated tool to do it online, that's fine too. That'll give you the other 20 points. I want you to be creative with this, kind of explore a little bit. If I do one thing, okay, you want to repeat it? Okay, 20 points. If you want to try something else, expand your knowledge, great. Show me you did it. So I'm only looking for the attempt on the crack. I want you to see that you dumped the hashes. All right, but I'm only really looking for an attempt on the crack because I want you to learn the process. All right, so I always typically show Hydra HDK. So if I'm not mistaken, it's in number 11. Maybe not. Bottom should have there it is. So there's Hydra, which is the command line, and then there's Hydra HDK, which is the GUI. Come on, GUI, there it is. So pretty intuitive, pretty easy, self-explanatory. Alright, single target, port, whatever port you want to try to break into. Alright, so we can try a multitude of them. Let's try port, got my map scan here. You know what? I'm gonna have fun with this and try something different. I'm gonna try port 25. Protocol. Port 25 is what? And what type of email? There's different types of services on email. There's POP3, SMTP is correct. I might fail on this. I'm always going to check be verbose because I want to see the feedback that the application is giving me. I'm going to click show attempts. Passwords, I'm going to use a password list. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to search for that password list. Though I used common.txt from the wireless, guess what? I can use it for this as well. So I'm going to select common.txt. There's also a password generator on here, separated by colons. So this is basically saying that I'm going to try one character, numeric, and lowercase letters. So it'll run through 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, so on, so on, so on, then A all the way through Z, lowercase only. Okay? So if I wanted to have a key space of 8 characters, I could change that to 8. 1 for numeric, A. 1 to do, if I want to do uppercase, I can do colon, big A. And that'll run through numerics, lowercase, and uppercase letters. Then it gets a little convoluted because then you have to put in whatever special characters you want to try. %, ampersand, pound sign, exclamation point, etc. It's kind of kludgy that way. Okay? But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to worry about that. Okay? Tuning. Tuning is very important because if you're trying to do a brute force attack and you're trying to defeat an intrusion prevention system, all right? Or, those of you who remember this from 467, we could put countermeasures when hardening a router, a switch, an access point, a firewall, right? The number of attempts, attempted in so many seconds, you know, and lock that user out. This can defeat that if we are very, very methodical with it, okay? So we can say, okay, number of independent threads, how many, let's just say this is a router for a second instead of a server. How many VTY lines do we commonly have? 5, right? 0 through 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's play. Let's do 5 threads instead of 16. Because anything after 5, if this were a router, a switch, whatever, it's going to get dumped. Okay? Your timeout is how long am I going to allow that response back? So this is in seconds. So we can increase that or decrease that. They decrease it to 15. We'll do it really fast. There's no proxy that we're going through. Specific, if we're looking for any specifics here for SMTP, I don't think we have any. And then we have start. Since we did verbose and everything else, all we got to do is come down here to start. Hopefully, wait for it. There it goes. So here you see it attempting an SMTP login, and it's using your name, pass admin. Oh, we messed up there, didn't we? Okay, no problem. We can stop it. Let's go back to passwords. Username. See, we didn't change that. So where we get the username? We get it from the hashes that we dumped. Okay, let's try instead. Let's try Who? J what? Quick? J Quick? Okay.
BR Brown.
BR Brown. Actually, I don't think I made a user for myself. Let's try. J Quick. Okay. Everything else will be. If you want to get started over, you can clear the output and just start it all over again. Take a second for it to initialize, and it'll run. There it goes. See, it's going to start running through all those different passwords. And if it finds one, it'll prompt you that it found it. Okay?
It'll just keep running like that?
It'll keep running like that until it goes to the end of that dictionary file, that common.txt file. Okay? This will work on other ports. Port 21, port 23, SSH, you name it. Okay? Now, here's the deal. You see how fast this is going. This will get picked up by an IPS like that, if they have one. Okay? And typically it'll get blocked. So you may... SMTP is harder because a lot of times, especially on postfix, and I hate Exchange. Exchange is like the worst mail system on the planet. It'll just allow attempts and attempts and attempts. Now what you can do in Exchange, and what I've done for several customers, is I just do not allow any connections to port 25. Okay? Period. Nobody can log in via port 25. I set that on my firewall, my port firewall. That's it. I still accept mail, okay, but I don't accept logins. Alright? And this is the thing that drives me nuts because my intrusion prevention system, I can't not accept mail. Brute force attacks get through, but I have that system on my host firewall that sends me messages and texts and emails that somebody's trying to brute force it. Then it's a cumbersome process of setting up a Wireshark capture, finding out the source IP where it's coming from, and then writing a ACL in the firewall. But hey, all I'm looking for is that. You use a different tool, that's fine. Just show me that you did the attempt. You don't need to break into it. Everybody straight with that. That's your other 20 points. Okay, so let's have a little bit of fun. So in Armitage, and you can also do this in Metasploit proper, now that we've dumped the hashes, all right, we can go to credentials. That'll pull up another tab. There's all of our password hashes. Everybody see that, right? There's our users. Now this works really well in older versions of Windows. If the sysadmin, the systems engineer, did not change the hashing functionality or variable at time of install. You do that with sysprep tools. For those of you who've ever done any type of administration on a Windows server, you can use sysprep tools to change the variable. All right, basically change the hashing function. You use the same hashing algorithm, but you can change the hashing function to where it's not standard. If you do that, this won't work, what I'm about to show you. Okay? If you don't, it's the same empty, unsalted common variable. You click crack passwords. It doesn't give me verbose. That again, so you see what's going on in the background, and launch. And then it will start going through its own process. You see it's not salted. And it will go through and try to crack every last one of those users' hashes. Hey, looky there. So it found J-Quick problems, BR Brown password, S Green money. Alright, so that's how you can easily crack those passwords. Now again, the passwords, they aren't very complex, are they? This is for instructional purposes only. Alright, it's not this easy out in real life. It should not be this easy out in real life. Again, we're teaching you the process. All right? Cool. Let's take a look at Metasploitable then. Metasploitable is a little bit harder. a lot harder. It's Linux. Same kind of steps. So let me go ahead and change my network here. To that. Okay, I'm going to have to get out of Armitage. Together. Sometimes it's better just to reboot. To be honest with you. I need to kill stuff anyway. So that was the Windows box. Let's go ahead and shut this guy down. As he's shutting down, I'm going to power on Metasploitable. And I'm just going to restart this guy. Where'd it go? Any questions so far? Is this informative? Okay. Cool. Yes?
The real do you ever have to write script to break into anything?
All the time. That's it. That's the easy way. Once you get into a more routine, and this is also very industry specific. For example, I do a lot of pen testing K-12 education. They almost always use the same learning management system or student management system, right? Or a majority of them do. I have scripts that just target specific ports for those when I find them. Right? So I do an Nmap scan. I find port 55,472, right? I know that's a specific type of student management system. Okay, I know what vulnerabilities there are, published for those. So I'll start cracking away at that. There are other specific applications that are used in medical billing. So I have not done a lot of stuff on large, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. I've been more attuned to small, mid-sized businesses. But guess what? A lot of doctor's office, dentist's office, they use the same medical billing software. They have the same problems from customer to customer to customer to customer. Because either A, don't have anybody looking at it to update it, B, the vendor themselves are not contacting these folks and saying, hey, we have a security flaw, please, apply this patch. Or see this alone. Right? So a lot of times when I get called in to do a pen test, I will find vulnerabilities that are months, years old. I'll find vulnerabilities in 2017 that were published in 2011. Right? 2010, and that's just for lack of understanding, lack of knowledge by the owner, the proprietor of the business itself. Most of the time, I won't say this about, I'll say something different about K-12 education, but most of the time in small, mid-sized businesses, especially medical offices, they have, Johnny's brothers, sisters, cousins, kid who's in community college somewhere doing their IT. And other than it being really jacked up because he or she doesn't know what they're doing and they're learning as they go, they leave vulnerabilities in there. I mean manual vulnerabilities, like opening up port 445 to the world. I love it when I find port 445 open up to the internet. Oh, happy day. Who knows what port 445 is, guys? Come on. SMB, server message block. All right, good question though. In K-12 education, anybody work in K-12? Because I actually have a lot of students throughout my classes that work at school districts. as like techs, and that's a part-time job they have. That I feel sorry for those folks. I really truly do. As part of my dissertation, when I got my doctorate, I did a quantitative survey of IT workers in K-12, right? And on average, they do not have training, or their training is years and years and years old. And one of the reasons they have a problem is they cannot recruit talent, good talent, that has an understanding of security practices, because their salaries have such a massive delta between that industry and other industries. Healthcare, insurance, finance, banking, right? And when I say there's a big difference, your typical network engineer in K-12 education makes around $50,000-$55,000 a year. Your typical network engineer in other industries makes roughly $85,000 to $90,000 a year. Right? Big, huge difference. All right, I digress. I can talk about this stuff all night. All right. So let's try to break into Metasploitable, shall we? We'll get out of here at a decent time. Okay. All right, there we go. I think he's 133. Hey, memory serves me good. I can't remember names to save my life. I can remember an IP address for years. I don't know why. How my brain's wired, I guess. All right, so service PostgreSQL start. That get going. Bring up Armitage. Cool. Same type of process, but you will get different results. All right, you can't dump the hashes as easy, okay? But you still need to go through the process, get your nmap scan, right? You still have to be able to get access to the system, okay? And you can do that with the Unreal IRC vulnerability in this guy. There we are. So there he is, 133. I think that's how I pinged him, right? Yep, sure did. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do an nmap scan on him. Real quick one. As that's going through. All right. You can look at the open ports here. You go, ooh, telnet's open. Still need to get a user though, don't I? Okay. SMB's open. That scan went really fast. Attacks, find attacks. Alright. This is an easy one because that's done. Now we can go and I think IRC, this is the easy one to do. So we still have to have access to it regardless. Launch that sucker. Gotta try to figure out, find some sort of in on it. Now, if we go and interact with the shell, okay, we have to have a little bit of system administrator knowledge, don't we? Now, with the SAM file, that's kind of buried in Windows. But the password file is not, right? Where's the password file? Etsy password, right? So if we cat password, oh my goodness, what did we just get? All the usernames, right? So this is more of a manual process where we don't have a tool that's going to automatically dump it for us. We have to have some sort of foundational knowledge of system administration. Okay? Because if you ever break in or you're doing a pen test and you get a Linux box, this is the first place you should go. Make sense? Password file. Get those hashes. Screenshot. 20 points. God, I make it look easy, don't I? If it were only this easy out in the wild, right? It's not. You gotta work for it a little bit harder, but that's okay. You gotta learn how to crawl before we run, right? Cool. All right. So, oh, look at there. There's my go-to. MSF admin. All right. So now that I have also a nobody. Alright, so there's a lot of different things we can try to crack in or brute force into the Linux box with. Use Hydra again. I don't think off-crack does online. That has to be an actual hash. So let's see about. Oops. I'll do that. Let's look at hash count. We didn't get a hash though, did we? Alright, we can just do a, I'm sorry, I'm just so used to Hydra. I've used it for so many years. Let's get out of my comfort zone. hash cat. You need the hash though. That's offline. Teaching how to do online attacks. That's offline. Alright. Well, you can go through the same process with Hydra. You like. Whew. Similar setup. IP 225.133. Let's do port 23 because it had telnet open. And protocol. Telnet. Be verbose. Show attempts. Passwords. Let's use the list that we used before. Common. Alright. Set that to 8. 12. Actually, it's 15. Proxy. Telnet specific. Nope. We need to give it a successful login string. This will come back and say, hey, you logged in. So, log in. Go. And as you see, it's going through. Oh, it keeps doing your pass though. That's not good. Something goofy too. Something goofy. Target. Username. This I did that wrong. I put the common in the username list, not the password list. Whoops. Let's try this. Be better. Now username, we can go back and look at Armitage, but I know one was I think MSF admin. We also have MySQL. We also have nobody. That's probably a SMB user. Okay, but MSF admin is probably the easiest one to go with. So we'll just make the username MSF admin. All right, now we have that tuned a little bit better. We'll clear our output and start the clock. All right, and it will progress. And let it fly through, see if it's there. If you want to test it, if you know what the password is to MSF admin already, like it's not published, you can throw it in that common.txt file. Try it that way. I'm only looking for the attempt. Right? This is just a really easy, down and dirty, quick password, online password cracker. If you had the hashes, you can do an offline cracker as well, like a hash cat. You guys got any questions? Hopefully that was informative. Next week, tell your fellow students, I'd like everybody to be here because I'm going to pass out my evaluations for the quarter. You guys can tell me how bad I suck. You guys don't have nothing for me. I have nothing left for you. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Next week, week 9, we'll also start prepping for the final. Okay, the final is online, so we only have 2 meetings left next week in week 10. So if you have any other questions,
When are you putting the final on?
the Sunday of finals week.
Okay, that first.
Yeah, and it goes all the way to the following Sunday. Okay.